The biggest immune support nutrient that I use for my patients is something called AHCC. It's a medicinal mushroom extract. It comes from Japan, and it's used in over 700 hospitals in Japan, so it's really quite well documented, well researched. It's one of the #1 best-selling supplements in Japan, and it's been used here for about 20 years maybe, and if not longer, and it's been clinically researched at universities all throughout the country, so I like using it. And the reason I use AHCC is because it actually helps to support the immune system. It actually goes out and gets to the natural killer cells. It gets to work as an immune modulator. So what it really does is it can tell our immune system what to do, but it doesn't overstimulate our immune system. So it's not something out there like other products that we all know of that just stimulate the immune system. HCC has the ability to modulate it. So it actually works as sort of like the captain of the team. So it'll get the natural killer cells, which is one of our first line of defense out there. Then it'll work on the cytokines, which are the chemical messengers to go tell the interleukins to go tell all of our white blood cells and all of the cells of our immune system what to do. And so that's really why I like it, and it works. I mean, I've been using it probably for 15 years now, both for myself and in my patients, so I see that it works. So AHCC is certainly the #1 nutritional supplement for immune support in my mind. I've been so impressed with AHCC and so impressed with the research that's being done that I actually decided to write a book about it. And I've never written a product book before. I've written a New York Times best-selling book called The Hamptons Diet. I've written a best-selling book for children called Feed Your Kids Well. I've written 3 other books, but never a product book. But I was so excited about this, and I think it has such a compelling story to tell that's why I wrote a book on AHCC. It's going to be published next year by Basic Health Publications. And I'm really excited to see it come out and spread the word and get the message out there that there is a good nutritional product out there that you can use on so many different levels. Although AHCC has not been tested on the swine flu, and I don't think to date anything has been specifically tested on swine flu, but it has been tested on other strains, like influenza, for instance, which is very closely related to swine flu. And it's also been tested on West Nile virus, hospital-borne infections like MRSA, and avian flu. So in the laboratory test animals that we did these studies on, HCC was shown an improvement. So I think one can therefore then make the leap when you look at the fact that HCC does increase the natural killer cells, the dendritic cells, the cytokines, all sorts of things that AHCC has been shown to do. I think it's fairly reasonable to say that AHCC is something one should be taking when you're worried about a flu, or even a flu like swine flu. While everyone's now concerned about swine flu, we have to really keep in mind that there have only been a few reported cases of death, and by few, maybe 250, something like that as of now. Whereas during the flu season, 36,000 Americans die each year from that. So, and especially in the elderly, it's that's the most critical population is the elderly, and it's got to do with the whole concept of immunosenescence, or aging of the immune system, and so therefore they don't have the same capability that we have or that younger people have of fighting off disease, and that's where AHCC comes in and plays a real critical role in helping to keep your immune system healthy, strong, doing what it's supposed to do. And therefore, I think people should not just be worried about what do they need during an outbreak of something like the swine flu, but what do I take all year long? What do I take that keeps my immune system fighting against every stress, every bacteria, every bug, every flu that I come in contact with all year long? So I think it's really important that people take something like AHCC, like I do, on a daily basis. A lot of my patients ask me, do I have a healthy immune system? Do I need to be taking something for immune system support? And I tell every one of them, yes. Because, some of them will look at me strange, and I'll say, well, are you eating organically, or are you eating healthy all the time? Are you getting enough sleep? So there's so many different things that affect our immune system. So unless I always tell them, unless you're living in a bubble, you have to be taking an immune supplement to help you. And AHCC is the one I recommend. It's the one I take, and it's the one I recommend to all my patients. Another great area where AHCC has been used is in liver health. In Japan, for instance, they use it quite frequently for liver use. So one of the first places I ever used it was on my hepatitis C patients, because there's really not very good treatment for hepatitis C patients. And I saw a dramatic decrease in viral load, so I continue to use it in hepatitis C patients all the time. And actually anyone with, whether it's liver cancer, liver failure, cirrhosis, hepatitis C, even fatty infiltration of the liver now, which is becoming so common, AHCC can actually be used in situations like that. Here's another interesting fact about AHCC. They did a 270-person study, and not very many studies are really done on that very many patients. And this was done on liver cancer patients, which are a very hard group of people to deal with. And what it showed was that AHCC was able to prolong survival time, improve quality of life, and decrease cancer recurrence. So it was really quite amazing that a nutritional supplement can do something like that. In one study that was done at Yale Medical School, they looked at elderly people, which tend to have a more weakened immune system. We use the term immunosenescence, so it's sort of like an aging of the immune system. And they gave AHCC, healthy volunteers, AHCC, and actually showed when they looked at what the biomarkers in their bloods that I was just talking about, natural killer cells, dendritic cells, those types of things, that actually were able to prove that AHCC effectively supported and boosted their immune system. And yet, in another study, what AHCC was found to do, and this was in healthy individuals, so it wasn't just people who with compromised immune systems, it was healthy individuals, actually raised the dendritic cells, which are the parts of the immune system that line sort of our respiratory tract, any area that comes into contact with the outside world. So that's especially important when we're talking about flu or worried about flu or colds or viruses or bacteria, anything, because again, that's one of the first lines of defense, because they actively live in the nasal passages, places like that, where we're actively coming into contact with disease every day. In other studies with AHCC, looking specifically at natural killer cells, what it really showed was, and I guess I should say that natural killer cells are really one of the body's first line of defense against diseases. So when a foreign invader comes into our bodies, the white blood cells or our immune system will send out the natural killer cells. And the natural killer cells actually attach themselves to these foreign invaders. They'll plant something like a grenade, I guess you could say, in there. And then it helps them to it'll then explode and kill these things. So really, the more natural killer cells you have, it's almost like having more ammunition. So you never want to run out of that ammunition. And AHCC has been shown in many clinical research trials to actually raise natural killer cell activity. So that's something we really want in our bodies. We want that. We need that. We need that during cold and flu season. We need that all the time. One more unique thing about AHCC that I should mention is that each year the company sponsors a symposium which takes place in Sapporo, Japan, which is where the product is made, and over 350 researchers are there each and every year talking about, just exchanging ideas, talking about the research that they've done on AHCC in that particular year. And it's just an amazing experience, because you don't see that in nutritional supplement companies ever. And it's really nice that AHCC does that. That's why we have all of this research. That's why I'm able to sit here so confidently and talk about AHCC on so many different levels and on so many different playing fields, because not only do we know how it works, we know that it does work because of this exchange of ideas and because of how much worldwide research is being done right now.